Very good morning, everyone. Jane Eyre was written by Charlotte Brontë under her pseudonym Carabel. According to the character portrayal of Jane, I'm going to explain about isolation and social discrimination. The story begins with an unhappy childhood with Jane with her nasty relatives. Jane's mother belongs to Mr. Reed's family, but she married to a poor clergyman, so therefore Jane's grandfather disinherited her. Unfortunately, Jane's parents died because of typhus fever, and Jane became an orphan. However, Jane was raised or adopted by Mr. Reed. Even though there were an adopted mother and her siblings, Dawn, Georgiana, and Elisa, she feels lonely and isolated because of their cruel treatment. They all neglected Jane as she belongs to a poor working class. The Red Room clearly shows both of these themes, and we can see the visual imageries and olfactory imageries. In After she leaving Gateshead, she entered the Lowood School. In Lowood School, after the death of Helen Burns, her one and only friend, she does not allow anyone to be a companion of Jane. And in the Thornfield Hall, at the beginning stage of Thornfield Hall, Jane does not ready to accept Edward Rochester's proposal because Edward represents a high class community and her employer, and also Jane represents a low working class community and his employee. However, the phrase searching for home completely indicates the isolation of Jane and her searching for a true companion. However, Jane continuously use the imagery of oppression through the entire novel. Thank you.
Jane grows older and become a governess in Thornfield. She develops a deep emotional connection with Rochester. However, Jane's strong sense of morality and integrity prevents her from entering a relationship with Rochester. While he is still married, this shows her unwavering commitment to her values and even in the face of personal sacrifice. Then Charlotte Brontë portrays Jane as a generous and kindful person. She shares the money with her cousin. Through this scene, we can see her generosity. One day, she trying to sleep, she disturbed by a strange voice, a demonic voice, and a footstep retreating to the hallway. And she comes out and sees smoke coming from Rochester's room. Rochester is asleep. The curtains are on fire. She dusts the curtains with water and putting out the fire and serve his life. Through this scene, we can see her kindful and strong. Thank you. Good morning. Today I'm going to talk about Jane Eyre character. Jane Eyre was written by Charlotte Brontë. Is one of the most famous Victorian novels. Jane Eyre is a character who seeks for freedom and who stands for her own decision. We can identify that through this scene. When she knew about the Rochester's past, she took her own decision. She didn't follow her traditionalism. And Charlotte Brontë similarly portrays the life of an orphan girl. There are several stages of her life. which shows step by step, her ascendancy towards her independence. We can identify that when she put into red room by her on Mrs. Reed. Thank you.
Jane Eyre characteristics. Jane Eyre knows about Rochester's past. She didn't follow the traditionalism. She uh, she take her own decision. That is, she left the Thornfield. This sense we can see her individualism and her kindfulness also shows in this novel. That is her aunt, when her aunt in the bed that time she take care her.
Good morning, everyone. Today I am going to present character analysis of Jane Eyre. The novel Jane Eyre is Charles Brontë autobiography. First, I am going to talk about Orphan Girl. The central character Jane Eyre come from a lower class father who married an upper class woman without accepting her parents. Then Jane's parents died from vipers because they helped a poor patient affected by vipers. That's why Jane became an orphan child. Then Mr. Reed, who is Jane's uncle, adopted Jane. On the deathbed of Mr. Reed, he has got a promise from her wife to keep Jane as their own child. However, Mrs. Reed unfulfilled her promise. Here we can see the class discrimination. Then she punished Jane according the gender conflict. While Jane and John fight. Second one is needy for companion. When Jane went to Thornfield, she met Rochester. he promised, he proposed her. However, she refused her proposal because she afraid to make a companion because she expect independence and identity. Finally, she made a best companion with processed. Thank you.
Good morning. Now I am going to talk about character portrait. The novel Jane Eyre was written by Brontë. There are many characters in this novel, but that Jane Eyre and the Edward Rochester is the his father protagonist in this novel. Jane Eyre lives at Gates with her family. After that, her dad died. Unfortunately, her Jane took her uncle, Mr. Reed, and after that, unfortunately, her uncle died, and she faces many problems. She read poetry by her aunt. And she expect reconciliations from her family.
Good morning. Now I am going to talk about character portraits of Jane Eyre novel, which was written by Charlotte Brontë in Victorian Romantic era. First, homeless. In the first section, Jane feels homeless because of her aunt Mrs. Reed's cruel treatment and her children's cruel treatment at Gateshead. When John and Jane fight to take a book to read, we can identify Jane doesn't feel love and belonging. Mrs. Reed's cruel punishment is the best example for homelessness. Similarly, Jane feels homeless when Rochester living at Brontë. At that time, she faced many difficulties like find foods and find a place to stay.
Good morning. Today I am here to speak about character portrait of Jane Eyre. Charlotte, the writer of the book, has portrayed characters in an interesting way. She has tell about the working class woman. The first working class woman we met in the novel is Bessie. Bessie is the nurse of the Reed's family. Bessie always helps Jane. When Jane is hurt, Bessie come and spoke with her. Bessie has a kind heart. Then when Jane is in the red room, Bessie went and spoke with her. Then Bessie always helped Jane Eyre. So he is very innocent and innocent and helpful.
Good morning to you all. Today we are going to discuss about the topic character portrait of Jane Eyre. The novel Jane Eyre was written by Charlotte Brontë in 1847. Jane is the protagonist of this novel. When we look up antagonist as Mrs. Reed and her child, and her friends as Daisy, Helen, Miss Temple, and St. John Rivers. In her early childhood, when her mother came from upper class people and her father from lower class people, even though they loved and married. Due to this condition, Jane considered as a lower class people. That's why her aunt treats her cruelly. Her parents died by typhus, so he considered as an orphan girl. When her uncle, Mr. Reed, gave a promise to his wife, Mrs. Reed, to grow up Jane as our own child, not the adopted one.
Good morning. Today I am going to talk about character portrayal of Jane Eyre. The first one is rebellion. Rebellion means it refers to the orphan residents against the order. The first one is love. In Jane's childhood, she lives with his uncle, Mr. Reed, because of his mother and father's death. After death of Mr. Reed, she lives with his aunt, Mrs. Reed. So Mrs. Reed does not give freedom to her because of class difference and gender discrimination. So after that, she goes to Lahore for a study. On that place also, she does not receive freedom from anyone. She treated as a prison. The next one is love. In her childhood, she does not receive love from anyone. In Thornfield, she received love from Rochester, a person who loves truly to Jane is Rochester, so she blindly accepts Rochester's love. Because of those situations, Jane portrayed as a rebellion only. Thank you.
Good morning to all. I'm going to talk about favorism. In this novel, we can consider the theme's favorism. Good morning to all. I'm going to talk about favorism. In this novel, we can consider the theme's favorism. According to this, we can divide that into two types. First one is traditionalism. Second one is individualism. She raised her hands for individualism because her aunt operation. She likes this because she lived with her aunts in Coral Bay. So she decided lives alone. Favorism, Mr. treats Jane with partiality, but she gives importance to own children. Mr. Brocklehurst treats Jane correctly because Mrs. Reed's statement.
In this novel, the Jane character portrayed through the class discriminations. First, we can see class discriminations divided into two sections. First one is upper class people, second one is lower class people. First, we can see the upper class people. Who are the members come in this section? First one is Mr. Rochester. Second one is Jane's mother. Third one is Mr. Reed's family. And next we can see the lower class people. Lower class people's comes under Jane's father and Jane. Jane's father came from a lower class. Jane's mother came from upper class. Even though Jane's mother loved and married Jane's father. In these situations, the writer portrayed as the Jane's from lower class lady. When she lived with her aunt, she treated very cruelly because she came from lower class. Even though she never depend on any other's decision because Jane had an autonomy. Thank you all. Now I'm going to talk about the novel Jane Eyre. This novel was written by Charles Brontë. It was published under the name of Bell on 19 October 1847. Now I'm going to describe two themes from this novel. First one is isolation. From Mr. Reed house to Longwood, she's isolated, but she's not isolated herself, but the people who around her make her to do this. The reason is Mrs. Reed is a woman who is estimate people's from their wealth they have, but when it comes to Jane's life, she doesn't have anything that show her wealth, and also she's an orphan child, so she doesn't have any support also. Therefore, she decided to go to Longwood. When she go there, she get broken her punishment. In there also, she's isolated from the people who studied in that school. The reason is already Mr. Brocklehurst portrayed Jane as a liar. So the students who around her is not ready to become friendly with her. That also one of the reason. And also during the party, when she is living in Mr. Reed's house, they're celebrating a lot of parties, but they refuse to when they are doing the party, they are celebrating with the people, with the people from upper class family. So Mrs. Reed refused to allow Jane to celebrate the party with themselves because she afraid that people might underestimate her because of Jane's quality. Therefore, she allowed Jane to be in that nursery. So there also she isolated by Mrs. Reed. Now I'm going to talk about the second lead. Jane is a strong woman. As a protagonist of this novel, she took strong decision most of the time. First one is Helen dead. As a normal person, if we lost our loved one, definitely we will feel terribly sad. But when it comes to Jane's life, she's aware about how we have to so our sad feeling. And also second one is she refused some marriage proposals. As a woman, if I go to a marriage stage, definitely I wouldn't take a decision to break off the engagement. However, Jane did it. The reason is she willing to live for herself. She willing to protect
protect her pride. Therefore, she took a stand for that. Like this, most of the time she show her individualism, and also she show most of the time she is respecting herself. By these things, we could understand how shining she is.
Good morning. The novel Jane Eyre was written by the English writer Charlotte Brontë and published in 1847 in Victorian era. The writer portrayed the character Jane as a strongest woman who is willing to be independent in her own path. While she was living in Gateshead, she was living with her cruel aunt, Mrs. Reed, and her cousins. She was caged as a bird, but she wanted to be free, and she wanted to be as a bird which is free to fly. And she was oppressed because of her gender difference and her class differences. She was waiting to escape from Gateshead, and she got an offer from Brackleshurst to study in charity school in Lowood. She used that offer and moved to Lowood from Gateshead. With these incidents, writer explained the character as an independent character. Thank you.
Good morning. Today I'm going to talk about the character portrayal of Jane Eyre. First one is Jane Eyre is an urban girl who lives with her aunt family because her parents both died of typhus in her early childhood. So her uncle, Mr. Reed, adopted her. While he was fallen in illness, he got promised his wife that she wanted to look after Jane as her own child. But after his uncle death, his wife doesn't follow that promise. And the another one is Jane is a need for companion because when she lives in Gateshead, she feels that not her home, and no one loved her. So she was searching for home and love. Finally, she was fulfilled her needs at Thornfield.
Good morning. Now I am talking about character portrayal of Jane Eyre, written by Charlotte Brontë. Jane Eyre is the multi-talent person. She has many talents such as drawing, singing, playing piano, and speak French fluently. Drawing talent we can see the after Helen Burns' death, Jane drew a fixer about that scene, and singing talent we can see in Thornfield. John sang a song for Mr. Royster, and in Thornfield, Jan speak with French fluently with adult parents, and marginalized while Jane fought with John. She marginalized by indicating a gender different. Thank you.
Good morning. Today I'm going to talk about the character portrayal of the character Jane Eyre in the novel Jane Eyre. The novel Jane Eyre is written by Charles Brontë, who is the English writer. In this novel, the protagonist Jane Eyre is portrayed as a often young, self-motivated and feminist woman. Today, I'm going to tell about the character Jane Eyre, how was portrayed as self-motivated and feminist. After her parents' death, Jane Eyre spent her childhood with her aunt, Mrs. Reed, in Gateshead. While she was there, she was discriminated, and without any further inquiries, she was punished by them. In Jan's everyday life, she faced many difficulties, even though she never be a weakened person. Because she has no one to love herself or support herself. She is the only one who is standing for herself. So she motivates herself in everyday struggles. While she got a chance to move from Gatesgate, she used it, and after that, she worked as a governess in Thornfield. There also she faced many difficulties, like while she got a chance to marry Rochester. On that day, she got to know that Rochester already got married. Even though she decided to leave him, and finally, after her decision, she moved to Fernley. Even her life, she faced many difficulties. She never be a weakened person. She always motivate herself, and finally, this is the only thing. She found herself what she wanted in real. The next thing is the next character is portrayed as feminist. As a woman, she faced many difficulties. While she was working as a governess in Thornfield, she met Rochester, and they're ready to marry. On the day, she knew about Rochester's past life. So, after that, she never wanted to be a second mistress of anyone. So she decided to move from there. After that, another chance, she met St. John's also. He also proposed her, even though she never wanted to be dominating herself. She wanted to be as the individual and independent person. So from this, Jan Eyre shines as a unique star in this novel. Thank you.
Hello everyone. Here we are going to speak about the characteristics of novel Jane Eyre. So according to that, I am going to speak about the characteristic orphan girl. The novel Jane Eyre was written by Charlotte Brontë. In the novel, Jane portrayed as a orphan girl. Jane was orphan several years earlier when her parents died of typhus. After her parents' death, her uncle, Mr. Reed, is the only person who kind to Jane. After that, Jane lived under her aunt, Mrs. Reed. Mrs. Reed is the Mr. Reed's wife. She treat her slave. Even she is a close relative to Jane. She didn't receive any love, affection, or kindness from her aunt. So that Jane earlier life is full of dependable and struggles. After that, Jane is obstructed by her aunt in the Red Room because she was fought with her aunt's son. Then she is sent to the Lowood School. In there also, she treated unkindness ways. Thank you.
Good morning to all. Today I am going to talk about one of the character analysis of Jane Eyre, rebel slave. Jane refers to herself as a rebel slave, and throughout the story, she opposes to find her happiness and it was prevented. Mrs. Reed's unfair accusation, Mr. Rochester attempt to make his mistress as Jane Eyre, and John's desire to transform missionary as his wife. According to that, Mrs. Reed's unfair accusation led to her self isolate with others and led to her self isolate with others, and Mrs. Reed's unfair accusation led to her isolate with others, and she was submitted to the Low school as her punishment. She was treated as a rebel slave. It was absolutely shows that when she was admitted to the Red Room by her aunt, even the faces of Rochester shows the authority, but Jane Eyre did not show his anger or her affright. I felt this is the sense of influence of over him.
Morning. Here I am going to talk about the part of homeless of Jane Eyre. The first one is Jane was riding in a coach, quickly exhausts her meager money supply, and she was most of the time she spends her night in the prayer hall. So she in following this she just begs for the food and other needs. Then it's the cruel life of her. And second one is failure in love and affection. When she was childhood, her nephew brought his book from her. That rudeness shows how she was there in their home and how she failed to get their love of them. And she was not with the parents and friends circle. She was surrounded by her hateful relatives and and she resolves to get her independence by getting to go to a school, and that's the part of failure. And the other one is isolation. There are two types of isolation faced by her. The first one is mental isolation. The first one, because when she was without their parents, she was the first one brought her to put in the breed room by her aunt. So that's the it's mentally disturbed her. The next one is physical isolation. When she was in the school, she drops her slate accidentally. But when the Mr. Brocklehurst came there, he reacted it, and it's take her to stand in a tool. She looks to peer up. So that's the isolation. That's all.
Good morning, everyone. I'm going to talk about portrait characteristics in Christianity. Christianity is a main theme of Jane Eyre. Her faith. Good morning, everyone. I'm going to tell about Jane Eyre character characteristics in Christianity. Christianity is a main theme of Jane Eyre. Jane Eyre. Her faith. Her faith guides her Sir, good morning to you all. I am going to tell about the novel Jane Eyre, character portrayal. One of the character, woman of working class. Jane Eyre is a woman of working class. Comes from a woman of working class. Jane Eyre is a way to send Lowood Institute as a charity school for study. She is develop education and develop the skills. She is a work from governess as a position of service. She is work from wealthy person, Mr. Rochester, at the Thornfield Hall. Sees many challenges and exit for all these challenges. Thank you.
Good afternoon, all. Now we are going to present 10 characteristics. Jane Eyre was written by Charlotte Brontë. It is published on 19th of October 1847. This novel is Victorian era. This is gothic novel. That is includes both romance and horror. Yes, this Jane Eyre is a set of romance. It is considered one of the most important work in English literature. Now I am telling about autobiographical. Yes, Jane Eyre is autobiographical. She has projected. She went to charity school and after later becomes a private governess. It is that's why it is a semi-autobiographical novel. After that, I am telling about Jane Eyre character. First, Jane is a strong woman. Yes, she has portrayed her strength about in this novel. Second one is she is very care person. She lots of many happiness and love. After that, okay, thank you.
Good afternoon, all of you. Today I am going to speak about the novel Jane Eyre. I'm going to tell about two characteristics. They are orphan girl and finding happiness. In this novel, the main character is Jane Eyre. She lost her parents at her childhood, and she is adopted by her uncle. After few years ago, he is in the deathbed. He get a promise from her wife, but his wife did not follow that promise because Jane is from lower class and Mrs. Reed is from upper class. We can see the clean class discrimination there. One day, Miss Reed's son John fighted with Jane, and Jane
gave a punch to him, and the blood is bleeding. As a result of that, John went to his mother and told Jane came to fight with me and punched me. As a result of that, Miss Reed came and put Jane into a red room. Jane told, please, I didn't fight with him. Please come and take me out. After few minutes, she was unconscious, and Mr. Lloyd came to treat her, and he suggested Mrs. Reed send her to a charity school in Lowood. After that, Miss Reed suggests Mrs. Reed accept that suggest, and she sent her to Lowood Charity School. Jane have two points to go to education. One is she can escape from that family. Next one is she can change her positions from education. We can change a lot of things from our education. And after she is going to Lowood, she is meeting two good characters. One is Miss Temple, and another character is Helen. Helen is same to Jane. Mrs. Temple is a teacher. Mrs. Temple is like a mother to Jane. Jane and Helen has two philosophers. Jane want to live a good, healthy life in this world, but Helen want to live a good, healthy life in heaven. Through that, we can understand Jane is matured and Helen is innocent. The manager of the charity school is Mr. Brocklehurst. He is same to Mrs. Reed. He also treated her in a cruel manner. After that, and in that school, there is a disease. From that disease, a lot of children were dead. The reason for that disease is they are not giving enough food for them, and sometimes they are in hungry. Another reason is the charity school is near to the forest area. In that boarding, only the children can play only which children haven't that disease. When we see from the outside, we can see it is a beautiful place, but inside children is fighting with them. Helen also affected from that disease, and she was died. After that, after finishing the education, Jane teach in that school for 2 years, and Mrs. Temple were leave from that school. Then Jane decided, I also want to leave this school, and she take a position as governess. After that, she is leaving from Lowood, and at the early childhood also she is searching for a family and love, affection. After that, when she leaving from the Lowood, she is meeting a character, Rochester. He and she is falling in love. After, however, they like to marry. When the wedding day came, Jane know about him. He is a married man. That time only she know he is a married man. After that, Jane think, I can't marry him because I can't live as a second wife. She afraid for the society. After that, she leave from that place. Thank you.
Good day to you all. I am going to explain Jane Eyre characteristic. First, we see the good friendship. Jane become good friends with Bessie, Helen, and Miss Temple. Bessie is a servant in Mrs. Reed's home at Gateshead. Bessie is also like a mother to Jan in this novel. Normally, we get love, care, affection from our mother. Likewise, Bessie also give these qualities to Jan in her early childhood. Miss Temple is a charity school teacher at Lowood. She is also like Bessie. She gives the motherly affection to Jane. Helen Byrne is one of the charity school friends to Jane. Jane has freedom to express her feelings and emotion to Helen because she is kind-hearted and honest girl. She is also like Jane. At the same time, Helen strictly follow the Christian mythology. Next, we see the Christianity. Helen Burns wants a good life in the heaven, but Jane wants a good life in the earth. Mr. Brocklehurst is the charity school manager. She always speak about sin, Bible, heaven, hell, and after the life, but he didn't follow them. Throughout the novel, Jane has struggled between the passionate nature and the moral wisdom of Christianity. She initially rejects Rochester to marry him because she won't compromise her moral Christianity. Thank you.
Good afternoon to you all. Now I am going to talk about Jane's character portraits. First one is struggle. Jane faced many struggles in her life. She lives in her childhood with her aunt. Her name is Mrs. Reed. She treats her cruelly. Example in the story, when John and Jane fighting, but Mrs. Reed only support to her son John, and John said to Jane, "You are our slave. Your parents didn't serve anything for you, so you have no rights to take my book." And Jane is a child. When John dominated her, she remained blind and deaf. Mrs. Reed gives to punish to Jane instead of John. And Characters school, Jane feels very lonely in this place. They didn't give good food, so she mentally, physically upset. And she earning for mother's love. First, Miss Temple, she is a teacher in the Characters school. Jane launched for her mother's love. That time, she gets mother's love from Miss Temple, such as care, love, serve, and Helen. Helen is a good friend to Jane. She helps to always to Jane, and Bessie. Bessie gives mother's love to Jane. Example, she gives she care of Jane when she did she her illness time. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am to tell about character portrait, employment, teacher, governors. First, Jane is sent to Lowood School. Then Jane is not the Jane is not happy in the environment either. It is unpleasant to her. Jane soon gets a job at the school. Jane's teach for 2 years. This way, Jane is able to complete her um, eight the 8 years Turner in institute at institute. Um, 6 years as students and 2 years as a teacher. Jane want to gain new experience. Jane want to change her job. She applies teachers governors at Thornfield Hall. Her surprise gets the job. Then James becomes governors of a cute, beautiful girl, Ada. Thank you.
Good day to you all. Now I'm going to present a character portrayal of Jane. The story Jane Eyre was written by Charlotte Brontë in 1847. Jane's early childhood at Gateshead. She is an orphan girl and her parents died in her early childhood. That's why she became an adopted child of Mr. and Mrs. Reed. In the Gateshead, Jane gets love, care, and affection from only Bessie. In Mr. Reed's last minutes, he got a promise from Mrs. Reed, which is take care of Jane as her own child. But Mrs. Reed refused the promise. Then, from the beginning of the novel, Brontë portrays Jane as a strong-willed, passionate, and outspoken young girl. Jane regularly speaks out against the cruel punishment of her husband John and her Mrs. Reed. This result in Jane becoming isolated and alienated in the house as she endures her punishments alone. Here we can able to understand class discrimination also.
Good morning to you all. I will now talk about Jane Eyre characteristic of the Jane Eyre novel. At Lowood, firstly Lowood, it's a educational school. Firstly, she meet two true hearts at Lowood. Then she feel friendship zone with them. She learns love, care, affection, hopefulness through their friendship. Then she get punishment from the Rochester. The Rochester, who is a person, he's the principal of Lowood, and he's always speak about religion things, but he does not following the rules and regulations of religion. At the same time, he does not provide enough facilities from the children's. His focus only his profits and money. At that time, the Lowood affected by the disease. Most of the children died during the disease.
at that time, the Helen also died. During the disease. Then the time Eyre, Jan Eyre was feel alone. She feel uncomfortable to live with that place. Then the days gone. Finally, she completed her education at Lowood. She studied 6 years as a student, and then she became a teacher at Lowood in 2 years. Finally, she identity was as a governess. And that time, Maria Temple was married, and she lived from the Lowood. Then finally, she also, the Jan Eyre also decided to live at Lowood because she can't live without Maria Temple and Helen. Then she applied for the job. Finally, she get the job from the Thornfield. Then she finally she went to the Thornfield. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Today I'm going to talk about character portrayal of Jan Eyre. As the novel progresses, the reader sees Jan. Good afternoon, everyone. Today I'm going to talk about character portrayal of Jane Eyre. As the novel progresses, the reader sees Jan blossoming into adulthood. She went to Thornfield as a governess. She fell in love with Mr. Rochester. They plan to marry each other, but their plans totally collapsed when it was revealed Rochester already has a wife. Thereafter, Jan suffers more heartbreaks and vows leave from the Thornfield. As she cannot sacrifice her integrity and principles to live with a man she loves but cannot marry. She sacrificing her chance of happiness. Thank you.
Good afternoon, all of you. I am going to say some character portrayal of Jane Eyre at Thornfield. First character portrait is homeless. Home, what is home? Home is a place where we can get love and affection and such qualities. At Gateshead, she didn't get such qualities from her relatives. Those relatives are Mr. Reed and Mrs. Reed and their children. At Gateshead, she is rated as cruel, and she thinks that she is in a failure, and she was isolated by their relatives. At Thornfield only she realized her own home. At Thornfield only she was given love, affection, and such qualities by Rochester. Then other character portrait is helping mind. At Thornfield, she is working as a governess. She protects Adelaide. And she gives motherhood to her. And while she was working as a governess, she is dedicated and kind. Then the last character portrayal is she is helping mind. Her helping mind character is reflected by when she protects Rochester from fire. And at the fire time, Rochester was slightly blind. He was dependent on her. Through this only her helping mind is reflected. That's all. Thank you.
Good day to you all. Now I'm going to do a presentation about character portrayal of Jane Eyre. In this novel has 5 sections. Now I explain section 4, which is her retreat to Moorhead. In this section has a lot of characteristics. First one is a strong one. Jane leaves from Thornfield. She suffered a lot for food and shelter. And next one is passionate. When John proposed to Jane, she refused his proposal because she has affectionate with Rochester. And the next one is working woman. When Jane, after recovering, she worked as a teacher in Moorhead. That time, she feel like an independent woman through her education. And next one is friendship. When Jane stayed at John house, she quickly mingled with Diana and Mary. This bond create a good friendship among them. Then next, generosity. Jane shared her fortune for John family. This incident indicate Jane's generosity. And next one is intuition. When Jane stayed at Moorhead, she heard some sound which is intuition of Jane. That sound is indicate her true love of Jane. Thank you.